Yep, we can see it.
Okay. SOFAIR, SOFAIR. This song reminds me the title of today's presentation. And for today, we're going to be talking about application of SOFAIR and quality tools for a continual improvement project. Good morning, everyone in the West Coast and Central Time. Good afternoon for those in the East Coast. My name is Marlene Garcia-Swider, and I am a quality manager for the Food and Drug Administration in the West Coast, and a certified continuous improvement expert and practitioner for the Sherpa Institute in Colorado. Today, we're going to learn about what is SOFAIR, what is ISO 26000, who can use SOFAIR, how SOFAIR method can help continual improvement projects, and where and when to apply different quality tools. Please let me know if you have any questions as we go along with the presentation, but remember that there are many people online, so let us be all SOFAIR. What is SOFAIR? SOFAIR stands for S, stakeholders or subjects, O, objectives, F, function or focus, A, analyze, I, innovate or improve, and R, report and repeat. The first goal of explaining on SOFAIR is here. SOFAIR was originally designed by the founders of the Sherpa Sustainable Institute in Colorado, Andrea Hoffenmeyer and Dr. Holly Duckworth. This institute stands for improving social responsibility through research, education, publishing, and collaboration. They both are author of this book you see here, A Six Sigma Approach to Sustainability, Continual Improvement for Social Responsibility, and you can get certified to their institute, like I did, by contacting them here at this information on SherpaSustainabilityInstitute.com or by calling them at 673-2895. What about social responsibility? Part of our first goal. What is social responsibility? Well, according to ASQ, you can see here the definition. Social responsibility in a nutshell is taking responsibility for all social issues, no matter if you're an organization, an entity, or an individual. ISO 26000 is the international standard that was developed for helping organizations to assess and address any kind of social responsibility that may impact or be related to their mission and vision, operations and processes, customers, employees, communities, stakeholders, or environmental impact. ISO 26000 has 7 areas or 7 core subjects. They are organizational governance, which for some of us is senior management, human rights, labor practices, environment, fair operating practices, consumer issues, and community involvement and development. According to ASQ, social responsibility is a means of achieving sustainability. Adopting key social responsibility principles such as accountability and transparency can help ensure the long-term viability and success of any organization or system. One example, for those who don't know me, I work for the Food and Drug Administration, and our mission pursues the fact that we want to bring to the market or ensure that the products that are in the market that we regulate, the food and drug that all of us consume, are not only safe, but also they are high quality and they are effective. By that definition, and based on what we are pursuing, public health for the community and for all the consumers, we are by default a social responsibility entity. As a matter of fact, I do believe that all government entities are. According to ASQ, there is a triple bottom line, and it's based on the ISO standards that you see here. ISO 9001, Environment 14001, and ISO 26000. I'm sorry, did I hear someone commenting on the phone? No? Okay, we're gonna move forward. Let me know if you have questions. Goal number 2 for today, who can use SOFAIR? Anyone who's interested in identifying ways to improve a process. Goal number 3, how SOFAIR method can help continual improvement project. From my perspective, SOFAIR is a very thorough methodology that combines project management and Six Sigma concepts and tools to create a continuum of possible solutions to a problem. As a black belt and project manager, I find that the methodology is ideal and fascinating, at least for me, as you can apply both bodies of knowledge in the same project. Our last goal here today, which is when and where can we apply these different quality tools, it will be the main purpose of this presentation. Through a real application, I will be explaining a wide variety and a wide range of possible tools and concepts that, when used properly, they will surrender you with expected results. So let's see, should we start? Let's go to the next slide. Here, you can see the project that I used to certify as a continual improvement expert and practitioner. The title of the issue that we were pursuing was How to Maximize the Voice of Quality Nationwide. The project I did was geared toward improving or helping ASQ. Today, I will be presenting just a general overview of the multiple steps involved in SOFAIR. Perhaps in the future, we can launch a series of webinars walking you through all or some of these phases in more detail. But today, we will follow this format. We will explain each SOFAIR phase. We'll identify the tools used in each phase. We'll explain how the tools can be used. And I will share with you some lessons learned that I went through when I was doing my certification. For those who don't know, the American Society for Quality is a global community of quality professionals that are pursuing to improve themselves and the world through defining quality concepts, technology, and tools. You can find more details at their website, www.asq.org. So let's start with the project today here. Let me see. The first phase here is the phase S. The purpose of the S phase, that stands for stakeholders and subject, is to identify everyone, everything, every group that will be impacted by the project or the results that we are looking for. In this case, maximizing the voice of quality is the example that we're using today. For that, and because it's a social responsibility project, starting, you try to identify which of the 7 core subjects or areas for social responsibility will be involved in this project. At that time, I identify with my group or the team 5 areas. You will see later when we develop the charter how the two other areas were as well included, because we will kind of refining and defining the project as we go along. For the S phase, the tools that I used was the SIPOS, stakeholder diagrams, and Pew matrix. The SIPOS is very similar for those who have used SIPOC. The only difference here is the S at the end, that instead of customers, we use stakeholders. And I'm not going to read through all the details, but just to give you an idea, suppliers will be ASQ members for maximizing the voice of quality. Their input will be participation. Their process that they use for participation will be meetings and conferences, trainings like this one, workshops. The output that we expect from them will be transparency and knowledge, networking, etc. And the stakeholders that will benefit from these activities will be themselves, the ASQ members, industry, FDA, and so on. You can see here all the stakeholders that we identify as benefiting. We also use a stakeholder identification diagram. I forgot to mention that S phase is the longest and more detailed, more tedious. And the reason why is because we're trying to identify as many people who may be impacted one way or the other by the decisions we're taking. You will see when you use this methodology that this is time well invested, because the more people you identify and include, the better decisions you will obtain at the end. In this identification diagram, every color and every shape has a purpose. For big circles mean there are big groups. Smaller circles are smaller groups in comparison with the other ones. The orange I use in this case are for anyone that is in ASQ. The yellow, if you see here, are people who are outside ASQ in the community, and so on. If you see this diagram as well, you will see that primary people who receive the benefits are in the top of the diagram, and those who may receive benefits from this project as a secondary effect will be in the lower part. To give you an example, primary will be ASQ, the division that is sponsoring this project. Secondary people will be, say, for example, other professional associations. They may benefit from this project as well, and so on. Another tool that I learned to use was the stakeholder mapping. I like this map a lot because it's very realistic. If you notice, not only divide the same stakeholders that we identified in the previous tool between external and internal, and again, based on the criticality of the pilot of the success of the project success, you have people who will be critical to the success of this project in the upper part, and those people who will be not that critical on the lower part. The realistic part that I like is the x-axis. If you hear the horizontal axis, it divides all your stakeholders by those who you perceive or your group perceive that they're going to be sabotaging your efforts, like competitors, those who you think will put resistance, and we can say, for example, other regulators, those who may create confusion in your project, and hey, media, perhaps. Inertia, people who can go either way, help you or not help you, sabotaging your project. That will be people in the middle here, like suppliers, product manufacturers, people that, or groups that are in compliance, like the regional government, FDA is there as well, people who you see, or stakeholders that will support your efforts. And here we have, well, the division and other ASQ divisions. People who you perceive that will be collaborating with your efforts, and obviously as people who are going to benefit, local community, maybe consultants, and people who will demand that you bring a good quality product out of this project. For example, customers. They will be the most beneficiary if you can maximize the voice of quality nationwide. What I learned from this, there is another one here, the Pews matrix. This is a new one for me as well. If you see here this matrix, you have the stakeholders that you identify at the top, the categories. In this case, were the quality managers of FDA, the members of ASQ, the councils, industry, etc., FDA employees and others. You can keep filling out there. And then you put the subjects or the social responsibility areas that you identify originally in your project, and you, in the matrix format, decide, you give a positive for those who will benefit, a negative for those who will have a negative impact by the type of stakeholder they are and what they are pursuing, and a 0, in this case, for those who may go one way or the other. Just to give you an example, the organizational governance, which is your senior management area, will certainly, their decisions will have hopefully a positive impact, not only in this project, if they work along with us in this project, in the quality managers of FDA, but also in ASQ members, ASQ councils, industry, but not so sure that they will impact other FDA employees because some of them may not even work in quality. A negative example will be here, consumer issues. It looks like it will be positive for everyone involved, all the stakeholders, but I put a negative here, the group put a negative here because other interest groups may not have the interest of the consumers on hand. And so on. I will not go through the whole matrix because obviously because of time, but hopefully in the future we may have more time and perhaps I can present in more detail some of these steps. Things that I learned in this phase, well, identifying stakeholders is a very detailed and hard work. More time you invest identifying all your stakeholders, the better results you will have, the more people buy in your results and initiatives. Stakeholders can serve multiple roles. They can be your allies or they can be your resistors at the same time. An example of that came to my mind, like customers for FDA. If we approve drugs on time, they probably may be our allies. But if something goes wrong with the food or something goes wrong with the drug that we just approved, they may become not our friends, but resistors. The most important stakeholders for my projects at this time were the ASQ, the Food and Drug and Cosmetic Division, and the ASQ members. Those are lessons learned from this phase. Let's go to the next phase. Objective. The purpose of the objective phase is to define the objective of your project. In this case, was identifying ways to maximize the voice of quality through business practices. The tools that I used were the SWOT analysis, the ideal final resolution, IFR, and the project narrative. Some of these are tools that I have used before, but some of them are new. Like this one, the ideal function resolution, and I will explain to you what that is. The SWOT analysis, for those who don't know, stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. For my project, for example, a strength will be, let's see, the team is engaged and supportive of the efforts and agree on using SOFAIR method. That was a strength for our group. A weakness is that the resources may be limited. An opportunity is that it will bring, hopefully, if we maximize the voice of quality effectively, public health benefits. The threats, well, bureaucracy and overhead investment, and definitely one that we always deal with is time management and conflicts between the priorities that management are constantly shuffling. It's something that may affect this project. The IFR, like I mentioned at the beginning, is the ideal resolution. What we are looking at the end of the project, you brainstorm with your group, and you idealistically define what is the resolution, the final resolution. That's what IFR stands for, ideal final resolution, that this group or this project that you are working on would like to see coming out as a result of your efforts. In this case, for us, was a total of 18 regional councils advising the voice of quality nationwide among quality professionals through innovative and effective educational and networking activities, helping ASQ members grow professionally. That's what the group all agreed on should be our ideal final stage or final resolution. Another tool that we can use in the O phase is the project narrative. You will see that using the project narrative, not only you include at the end the ideal final resolution, but also you take time to identify the strategy, the goal, and the business context. For those who are related with a charter, they may know that these pieces of information will become crucial when we design the charter later in the process. Things that I learned from this phase. Well, the ideal final result helped focus our efforts. Several shifts in thinking were needed. When you are dealing and identifying more and more stakeholders, when you are revising your objectives to make sure that you accommodate for everyone, definitely you have to keep looking how to refine your project as you go in the process. Through the project narrative, this project was successfully connected with the business strategy deployment targets to improve. Throughout the project, it was a challenge not to jump into solutions. That's something that we all found, oh, let's do it this way. Let's said, no, we have to wait for the SOFAIR process. Let's finalize the identification of all the stakeholders. Let's revise the objectives, make sure that no one is left behind, etc. At that time, the team dynamic was very positive, and every member contributed a lot. Full sponsorship is continually received. The project charter was revised several times to accommodate the new changes and challenges. You will see as well, the product of the product charter was revised and revised several times to refine our results. The third stage, or the third phase in SOFAIR, is the function or focus. The purpose of the function or focus phase is to ensure that the project is focused on the most important opportunities. We want to maximize the impact. We want to certainly have the minimum resources for our SOFAIR projects, not waste any resource, definitely. This requires the application of thinking systematically or system thinking, and always all the time have assigned priorities. So guess what? What tools can we use for prioritization and thinking systematically? Three of the tools that we use in this phase was value function diagram, focus project charter, and quality function deployment. I will go through them very quickly here. The value function flow it was a new tool for me. I had never used this before. I learned through the certification process or program what it was. It builds on, we put all the choices, alternatives, and we create dependency and put them in order. For example, if we want to maximize the voice of quality through a regional council, that will depend on what? Well, it will depend on recruiting new council members. Recruiting new council members will depend on what? Well, we need to design workshops so people can come and we can identify from there. Designing workshops certainly will depend on what? Creating partnerships of people who can provide the workshops. Creating partnerships will depend on what? Well, we need to do our legwork, developing research, identifying the sources. Developing research will depend on what? On networking. And you keep going and attaching everything dependency until you go to the end, which is what? The customer feedback. And hopefully customer feedback what? Will close the loop. If you have continual improvement, it will take you back, giving you feedback, and you can start all over again. Whatever your customer feedback and lessons learned, you can utilize to start the process all over again. Okay, here's the famous project charter. Again, I'm not going to read through all steps. I hope that many of you have done a project charter, but if not, you can see here in bigger letters here the sections that entail or compose a project charter. You will see also that in the materiality statement, we have included not only the 5 areas of ISO 26000, but we have included the 7 ones due to the fact that we have been evolving and refining our process and our findings. You have a scope, you have the goals, you have the stakeholders that we identify in the F phase. We have the scope of what's identified in the O phase. You have a business case, which was identified in this phase, in the F phase, focus, and so on. I have to remember those who haven't done a project charter that usually a project charter is a living document. It keeps evolving as you keep finding things. Even though it has been approved, it's a good thing to keep them alive so you can keep adapting to changes. Another tool that is highly used in the F focus phase is the quality function deployment. They call it the quality house. For those who have used this, you may remember that the whole purpose of using this tool is to keep the customer, in our case, the stakeholder requirements on mind for the final product. And it works on the hows and whats. The requirements from the stakeholders are being used to define the organizational requirements that they will be going here, up in your house. And the ceiling, if you see here, this rectangular part, will show the relationships, if any, based on this legend. Is there a strong relationship between this stakeholder requirement and the organizational requirement? Is there a strong negative, a negative one, a positive? You create your own legend. Also, you assign priority to all your stakeholders' requirements by creating not only symbols, but also applying on a scale agreed upon your team. And here you got what we got, the priorities that we assign, and also the relationships are reflection by the different, symbols that we use in this tool. Let me keep going here. Let's see. And those are the three tools we use in the F phase. This phase helps us focus the project and its objectives. We found that great collaboration and support from the group was received. However, project completion was not scheduled until this year, and the team and I are constantly challenging not to jump into solutions. You will see that when you use this process, SOFAIR, and continual improvement, you want to have solution. And again, the more time you spend on the first part of SOFAIR, the better your results. So let's look to the three last steps of the process. AIR. Are there any questions on the phone before I proceed? Okay, I don't hear anyone. I take that as a no. Our next step or phase is the analyze phase, is to study the causes of the impacts. We want to understand the relationship between the inputs and outputs. Remember the Cypress project we did, or a tool that we use? We identify inputs and outputs. So we need to analyze what's going on in the relationship between them. We study in great detail the relationship between what we do and how it will impact our stakeholders. And three of the tools that we use were the cause and effect analysis, the 5 whys, and the FIMIA. In this case, we call it SR for Social Responsibility FIMIA. It was a social responsibility project. The first one is cause and effect. Is kind of self-explanatory by the title, what cause and what effect you will get from different inputs. For example, in this case, we were trying to recruit new counselors. That was the process step. The process inputs in order to accomplish that step was recruiting FDAers to be ASQ members and inviting QLN, which was Quality Leadership Network members, to be a part of ASQ. Again, with your group, you come upon, agree on numbers that you want to assign and prioritize here to identify which ones you want to tackle first. They're highlighted here in yellow. That was a decision of the group. I wanted to show you here that in the upper part, you have the results of improving the quality of FDA-regulated products, developing new young professionals, networking with other professionals, and you wanted to see for every action, every cause, what kind of effect based on the numbers you assign, and you can get here a total of in your eyes or your group eyes, how this will be translated metrically or quantitatively, if you give a quantitative number here. Make the decision easier. Another tool that we used was the 5 whys, and I like this a lot because it reminds me of children asking you questions. And it's a way to analyze your situation. For example, the group wants to maximize the voice of quality. Why? Because it's important for people. Why? It can make a difference on the health of people. Why? Because good quality safeguards public health and the food and drug marketed and consumed in the United States. Why? Because people need food and drugs to live a healthy life. And the last one, why? Without food and drugs, people will die. So it's kind of a fun exercise to do, but it helps you kind of clear when you are analyzing the reason behind the project. Another, for those who like math, are more math-oriented, another tool is the FIMIA, Failure Mode and Effective Analysis. For this one here, we identify functions, and then we identify risk involved, how those risks will be translated, or what kind of effect those failures may have, or causes. And then as well, as a group, we decide in the numbers that we want to assign in a scale that we can all agree on. In this case was 1, 3, and 9. 1 by low priority, 3 for medium priority, and 9 a high impact of priority. And let's take an example here to see how it applies. We were talking about organizational governance or senior management. What could be the failure mode? What could be the worst that can happen? Well, lack of participation from management or lack of support from them. How will that failure manifest, or what kind of effects will that have? Well, then the initiative or the problem or the solutions will get less resources. They probably will be no budget available, and the quality will not be included. So as a group, you decide how severe this failure can be and how prompt to occur, or what is the possibility of that happening. And then you start assigning numbers. And something I knew with this, the use of FIMIA in this process or training for my certification was the fact that the RPN, or the risk product number or priority number, risk priority number, can be calculated different ways. It can be cumulative, or it could be by multiplying. For example, for less resources available, the group decided that the severity will be at 3, but the occurrence will be very low. So 3 plus 1, when it's cumulative, it will be 31. However, if you decide to do a multiplication, it will be at 3. 3 times 1 is 3. The beauty of it, that no matter how you use it, you will obtain the same results. Whatever is a high risk, it will show a high risk in cumulative and also in multiplication. And I highlighted here to show that in this case, you obtain the same numbers and the same priority, I may say, no matter what form you are calculating your numbers. So let's see, for this phase, let's see the lessons learned in the A phase or analysis. A clear understanding of the connections between the organization's decisions and actions and impacts to stakeholders was gained in this phase. Risk, limitations, and realistic expectations are better understood after this phase. However, processes keep evolving. Further findings and inputs were identified during the analysis, and that's to be expected because you're taking now time to just analyze all your components. Team dynamic was excellent at this time. Okay. Next to last, innovative and improve. This is one of my favorite phases, and I will show you why. The purpose of the innovative and improved phase, in this case, is to identify innovative ways to continually improve the situation under study. It is interesting to know that through SOFAIR, the methodology we're talking today, it is only after 4 phases of study and preparation that we are ready to take action, ready to say, okay, we got some solutions, let's see how we can identify and put them to action. less rigorous methods, like, say, for example, DMAIC or any other method that you may use for continual improvement projects, may result in changes, but in no improvement. And those are based on lessons learned by others and shared with me for this presentation today. One thing that I like from this innovative and improvement phase is the use of tricks. I don't know if you are all related, but tricks is a Russian tool that came out by a scientist or a person who had not shared with the world, and it's based on 50 ways that you can be innovative. And I can share that with you perhaps in another presentation, what are those 50 ways, but just to give you an idea of how we apply it to this project, let me show you. We decided from all the 50 ideas that asymmetry, which means creating equal parts, universality, that means making everyone part of the solution, anti-weight, dividing the workload among everyone, segmentation, local quality, could apply to our projects. How? Well, for asymmetry, based on the definition, we consider that perhaps we can change the current group structure. We don't have to have a president or a lead. Maybe we can rotate the lead position, we thought. And that translated in some of the activities, merging efforts with other associations and groups. Maybe this division is not the only one that needs to be involved. So our initiative of merging efforts with other associations and groups certainly fall under asymmetry. Universality as well. Everyone can help. It doesn't have only to be this division. We thought about leveraging by using resources previously used. Okay, if we have extra photocopy services, if we have extra previous materials or slides from previous presentations, we can leverage and use them and save resources that way. So we included that as well in the anti-weight, thinking that if we include more volunteers, less time will be needed. If we recruit more than just the 18 counselors, we can perhaps divide the load and have everyone volunteer perhaps half an hour for the efforts of maximizing the quality instead of spending 2 hours, say, a week or 2 hours a month. They can go down to half an hour every other month. For segmentation, everyone specializes in one area. We say, how can we apply that? Oh, we can leverage by not only the resources used, but also we can have everyone decide which area they want to specialize. Maybe one of them wants to deal with, I don't know, webinars and training that we're putting for maximizing the voice of quality. Maybe someone wants to focus on recruiting volunteers, and so on. And then local quality, we thought about what about if we change the time and date and frequency of meetings? Perhaps we don't have to meet every month. Perhaps we can meet every other month, and so on. So tricks give you different alternatives on how to be innovative, and you can use this to apply to your project. Here again, the multiple innovative solutions that we came with using tricks in this phase, innovative phase. I'm not going to read through all of them because I think I mentioned to you in 7 ways. We identified at least 7 ways. That was our goal. And I also learned about this other tool, improved solution prioritization. It's similar to the FEMIA. You again assign different agreed upon, I guess, weight to your choices. And we came here with universality and leveraging being the highest, and then merging efforts with other association or symmetry came in a lower, with a lower, I guess, result. Let's see what we learned from this phase. In this phase, what I learned was that amazing the amount of type of ideas that were generated using tricks. The tricks 47 ways and solutions selected guided, focused, and helped with the final selections of what we're going to be doing or proposing for addressing our original continual improvement project for maximizing the voice of quality. The team will decide to implement 2 or 3 of the activities, because remember, it's a continuum. As soon as we finish with the 2 or 3 activities, we can go back and select other 2 or 3 more activities and work on those. The creation of a project implementation plan with team members' input and sponsor guidance will be needed. So we need not only one person leading, but also the whole team, and definitely the members of ASQ at this time input will be needed, and the sponsor from ASQ sponsoring as well. The last phase is the report and repeat. The purpose of the report and repeat phase is to create project implementation and communication plans, also a project pipeline. Remember, I was mentioning to you creating different solutions for the problem or the situation that we are studying. And also project implementation and communication plan. You will see that I like this part from SOFAIR, because many times we forget the communication part. If we accomplish a lot in a project, but we don't communicate it, first in a timely manner, and secondly to the people who can do something about it, it will hopefully if we do it, it will be a fruitful, dedicated and fruitful time. But if we don't, we will be wasting a lot of our effort. And I can show you here the strategy deployment matrix and the project implementation and communication plans as 2 tools that can be used for that. We have the strategic deployment matrix, and if you see one builds into the other, this one is just a template. We didn't finish this part here, but you will be putting top-level improvement priorities in this side, targets to improve, impacts, and strategic initiative, and it all repeats, it all attached to each other in order to deploy the solutions that you are suggesting for this continuous improvement project using the SOFAIR methodology. And also, for those who are on the phone, I'm pretty sure you have seen similar things like this. They're called usually sometimes Gantt charts, but you can identify, sorry, I went a little bit too far. You can identify year-wide when you can deploy your communication and implement your project step by step. And there are different tools here. Again, these are just templates that I included in this presentation. In conclusion, for this project, here is the pipeline of ideas that we came after using the SOFAIR continual improvement methodology. I will read some of them. For example, we thought about how about creating a national ASQ contest for students at different universities and colleges. That certainly will include and recruit some new members for ASQ and maximize the voice of quality that way. How about designing webinars like this one? We just, Norvell just mentioned that since they started their webinars, the participation have been increased. How about creating, I don't know, ASQ chapters at universities? And we came with all these ideas. But the one that we wanted to do the most and still working on is a partnership with FDA. Everyone agreed on that, obviously because it's the Food and Drug and Cosmetic Division. Having a partnership with FDA will certainly accelerate and advance the maximizing of the voice of quality nationwide. And let me see, do I have one? Okay, lessons I learned on this phase, on the last phase. Well, the SOFAIR process is logical, very thorough, and easy to follow. It is fun, but it requires a lot of work, a lot of analysis, and time in overall. I look forward to continue using SOFAIR on next project plan. We will see, perhaps we can launch a series of webinars in the future and go step by step, and we all create projects on our own. And the biggest potential challenges in the implementation include the buy-in of senior management and the participants. Obviously, if we don't have the support of people, stakeholders, or people who can support this effort, it will not be successfully accomplished. Are there any questions? That's it, my presentation for today, and I think we still have 10 more minutes.
Marlene?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm just curious, why on the SOD analysis, why did you eliminate the detection rating? You only had S and an O there, and you did not have the D in there.
Okay, let me see. Where do you remember the slide number?
I'm sorry, I don't. Can I go back? Is there a way I can go back, or you have to? It's when you were doing the severity, opportunity, And then the cumulative RPN number?
Yes, yes, one moment. I'm going there.
Yep,
Here.
I see it.
Yes, here.
Yeah. Well, normally when you do the SOD, you have a detection number,
Okay.
0 to 10 as well.
To tell you the truth, I will take a guess on my answer. Remember, I did not design this system or this methodology, but remember the example we are using it for is social responsibility. And the impact on social responsibility, the emphasis will be on the severity and occurrence. I don't know about the detection. I think detection usually is more toward manufacturing processes, if I'm not mistaken. And we are not dealing so much with manufacturing here. And that's the best answer, but I get back to you once I consult the designers of the system and let me know.
Okay.
Yeah, many of these tools are building on quality tools, but if you see even the House of Quality, they have been modified to address SR, which is social responsibility issues, which is not a manufacturing, It is a process. It follows the same inputs, transformation and outputs, and we have stakeholders, but the type of product we're dealing is intangible, not so much tangible. So I think that has something to do with what you're requesting. I will have to confirm and get back to you.
Well, that's good. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
If you can.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Well, I'm monitoring the chat box, and I don't see any questions there. We still have a little better than 5 minutes here before we get to the top of the hour. So if you do have a question, you can either type it into the chat box, or it's okay if you unmute yourself long enough to ask your question.
Well, if I don't receive questions, I will then make the questions. How about that? I'm curious to know, those who are listening, do you find this process complicated, interesting, useful at all?
Okay, now I do see one. Oh, go ahead.
Could you repeat the broke up?
Okay, I'm asking to the participants, those who are listening to the presentation, I'm asking to anyone on the phone, do you find the process complicated, useful, interesting? Any feedback?
I've seen one. Okay, we're starting to see them come through the chat box. People are either saying that they are finding the information useful or they're finding it interesting. Okay,
good. I certainly, thank you, Kelly. I see you comment. I certainly think that, and I suggested to Norwell that if it's something that you all think that you may be involved at work as a continual improvement, perhaps another series of presentation where we can digest with more time the phases, meaning explaining and going deeper and address questions like the one just posted, why the tool are being modified. We can perhaps discuss that as a group and then have not only post questions, but also among the members of the participants come to a learning lesson from each other and see who else perhaps they have applied the tools in other ways. That's just a thought.
Yeah, I'm continuing to see chats come through with comments, useful and interesting, methods are useful, very similar commentary being made. Now, one person did say that they don't see the element of control. I'm not exactly sure what that means.
Yeah, can the person expand? I don't know neither. So I don't know. Perhaps someone can explain. I remember in one of the tools that we use, I saw the loop closing, and maybe that's what they're referring to, but I'm not sure. I remember when I was explaining about the value function flow, whenever you receive customer feedback, you apply back to the system, to your goal, which is maximizing the voice of quality, and you can start the value function flow again, asking what depends on, and keep refining your findings. But with no more details, I don't know if that's what they are interested in or knowing, or they were asking about something else.
Yeah,
I might
see
just
here, it says the improvements made has to have ways to control apart from just reporting.
Okay.
And then somebody else also made a comment here that their mentor always told him to use the tool. Don't let the tool use you. It's okay to make the tool useful for the problem you were solving. Thank you for a different spin on some standard tools.
Yeah, I agree with the person who made the comment. I had never seen the tools used in this way, and it's close to my heart because my dissertation for my doctorate degree was in social responsibility. So I was thrilled when I could figure out that as a quality manager, I can use the same tools that we learn as a black belt in social responsibility continuum issues. So, but I like the comment about the control. Again, I don't have an answer, but just the one I gave, customer feedback, because I know that you cannot have continual improvement unless you receive feedback from the system. It's what literally closes the loop. If you don't get feedback, you are loose. You don't know if you did it right or wrong. I know that there is a lot of metrics involved with some of the tools. In that way, if that such thing can be controlled, identified metrically, I assume that the person is asking, once you implement the changes, how can you keep track that they don't reverse? And again, the answer is feedback. If you don't receive feedback, you don't know if you're doing right or you're doing wrong or you're lost. So.
Now, there is a follow-up question to that. Are there any methods or tools to control the improvements?
Not in the software that I'm aware. I'm pretty sure that you can apply other tools, but I'm taking notes here. And then you mentioned that you want to ways to, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? Ways to what?
Are there any methods or tools to control the improvements?
That in software, I'm not aware of any. Certainly you can apply other tools, but no, not in software, I'm not aware of any.
Okay. It doesn't look like we have any other questions coming through, and we are up to the top of the hour. We pretty much are out of time right now. I'm going to go ahead and thank Marlene for presenting for us today, and also thank those of you who came online for joining us today. Quick reminder that our next webinar will be on Wednesday, May 16th. It will be a week from tomorrow. It will be Introduction to ANOVA with Adam Pintar of NIST. We hope you can join us for that. We still have space available for anybody who would like to register for that one. And we don't see any other questions coming through. But once again, thanks very much, Marlene.
My pleasure.
And we hope to see many of you next week. Until that time, we'd like to wish everybody a good rest of the day, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks again now. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.